wife was on bed rest for about 2 weeks. Her feet hasn't touched the floor, and that's because we went over on March 19th to get an ultrasound to check on the babies that were inside of her, and they were doing fantastic, but when they went to check her cervix, it was non-existent. So the boys were actually falling out of her, and so that night they rushed her in, did an emergency surgery, and put her on bed rest and said, you can't touch the ground. And so she laid there, and for the next 5.5 weeks, that's where she was. And every day that she was there, we just prayed and just took it minute by minute, hour by hour, and then as the day went by, we just thank God every day that day passed by, because the closer that we got to the 24 weeks, that's basically the magic number, that if they pass that, then there's a possibility their survival rate goes above 50%.
Yeah.
So we made it to 24 weeks.
Had a big party. Huge
celebration, cake, you know, had some pizza and just celebrated. And kind of thought, you know, we were seeing the light at the end of the tunnel.
Every day after that was just
a bonus.
You know, a bonus.
And we only had 3 days after that. At 24 weeks and 3 days, on April 26th, they were born. Denver was born first. He was born 1 pound 10 ounces, and Dawson weighed 1 pound 6.5 ounces. And they shouldn't really be here. They were sick. Denver had blood poisoning and wasn't doing too well. Courtney was really sick because she had the blood poisoning. She had fevers spiking over well over 105 degrees. She was very sick.
They gave us the chance of what,
they said
50%?
Well, they said now with the infection that they thought both boys had an infection, so they thought with the infection the chance of them living probably would drop down to about 30 to 40%. So, you know, we just, from that day on, you know, we were shocked. We were, I don't know.
We pretty much just had to leave it in God's hands,
yeah.
And, you know, it was out of our control. And
you know, we went through a struggle to even get to this point, to bring them here, and then just to have them that sick and not being able to do anything, and just leaving everything, like just seeing the doctors doing everything, and we couldn't do anything. We couldn't even touch them. So that's all we could do, and we realized, and it came from me, it was when they were being born. Courtney, like I was a mess, and Courtney was just calm, and she just said, you know what, if their time to come, it's their time to come. And you know, she was just calm. She said, we got to get them out because they're not doing well. And I think from that point on, we just kind of looked at each other and knew that it was out of our hands, and we had to put our trust in God. Even as hard as it would be, we did that. And it was, you know, the first day was just a blur. And what they call is the honeymoon stage. They said, you know, we came down, they said the boys are doing great. You know, Denver's, he's got the blood poisoning, but Dawson, they said he's doing awesome. And they were just amazed at how well he was doing. And then that night, we get a knock on our door. It was about 3 in the morning, and there's 2 doctors there, and they said, there's been a turn. Dawson's not doing well. He's having some severe bleeding, and, you know, we need to do some transfusions. So we signed a release form, and we just sat up in our room just praying. And at 6 in the morning, they came up and they said, you got to come down. He's not going to make it. So we rushed, got down there. Courtney's mother, Vicky, was there, and they sent a nurse from the NICU. Actually left her job to go down the Ronald McDonald House because no one was answering the phone, was banging on the door and said, I need Vicky Ford down here. And that's how dire the situation was. They said, you know what, he's not going to make it. And when we first walked down there, a male nurse comes up to me and he looks at me and he says, I just want to verify that you understand what the doctor said. The doctor said he is dying. He's not going to make it. Sit down with him and say what you need to say. Something happened. And he didn't die. He, you know, he didn't have an easy time, but he made it through. And he, you know, like from that point on, like it's, you just see the amazing thing that God did. Like from the point of Courtney going into the hospital and these boys not supposed to make it because they're basically falling out of her, to the point where they made it just to the point where they're supposed to make it, that they had a chance to survive, to them saying that they were going to die, and they didn't. You know, like they went through a lot of struggles. They both had heart surgeries when they weren't even 2 pounds. They had chest tubes because they had damaged lungs, and they had holes in their lungs, and they're getting pockets of air in their body. They had infections upon infections. They had numerous, probably at least a dozen each blood transfusions, just because their hemoglobin was so low, and you know, they weren't doing that well. But all the way through, we put our trust in God, and He healed them, and it was the most amazing thing. I'd never change what happened. You know, like I see people go through and they just go through their pregnancy, and they have a beautiful baby, healthy, and they're in the hospital 2 or 3 days and they're home. We lived in the hospital for 5.5 months, and we saw our children go through things that they should have never gone through, but I wouldn't change it because I saw God's hand at work. These guys are a miracle. They shouldn't be here. The doctors told us numerous times. We had meetings with them, and they were telling us that, you know, asking if we should pull the plug on Dawson, and you know, just saying that they're not doing well. They don't know how they're going to turn out. And I look at these boys and I see beautiful, healthy boys. Yeah, we had a really hard time.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of time within the first, I'd even have to say 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of why us, why me type attitude, and that was just
wasn't healthy for us at all.
No.
We just one day we said, okay, this is it. You know, we need to count our blessings, and you know, look what God has given us through this, and it's made us stronger, and I think it's definitely strengthened our relationship with God, and it's just amazing to see these little miracles, and you know, God is good, and He still does miracles today. So.
Yeah, no, and that's the only thing that has gotten us through this time. The amount of stress and everything that we were under, and that we saw, you know, our children going through, and how sick they were. If we didn't have Christ in our life, we wouldn't be here. There's probably a good chance that we wouldn't even be married anymore, because we were so stressed out and things were so rough that if we didn't have God to fall back on and to take our burdens from us, who knows where we'd be. You know, that's the only thing that has saved us, and that has saved our boys. So, you know, we're very thankful, and we're just glad that, you know, we have a God like that we can go to when we need Him.
Great, that's it, guys.
Perfect.
Right.